Hey everyone, welcome to the Books Are Us show, where we have lived out our story, written our story to tell our story. This show is all about interviewing authors and their process. And by you watching this show, it will help you find your story within. Welcome everyone to the Books Are Us show. My name is Nadege Bastian, and I have the privilege of interviewing Aaron Tillman. He has written a book called Finding Christ in College. Aaron, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so grew up in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I am the youngest of two other sisters, and had an opportunity in 2008 to go off to college to Florida A&M University. So in doing so, met a lot of good people and experienced a lot of different things that I kind of talk about within my book. But I'm currently an academic advisor at Florida State. My heart is really just to work with college students, and I feel like God has set me there really just to make an impact in their lives.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, what influenced you to write this book?
So, man, I had so many different experiences and challenges that I went through in college that I think many people might be able to relate to. But one of the biggest things was that, I didn't grow up in a church. So I really wasn't big on, reading a Bible or doing anything along those lines, or, just even really living out my faith. So when I came to school, a number of different experiences, one of the biggest ones really being in the Marching 100, and having an opportunity to just kind of play and practice with them. In that environment, I was led to really understand really God's purpose for me. And at the time, I thought God's purpose my entire life was to be in the band. Like, I had this gift to play percussion, and I thought this was it, So it really wasn't until He showed me that it was time to go and leave the band that I was able to really understand the purpose that He had for me. So in leaving the band, I was able to really understand really God's direction for my life and what He really wanted me to do. And there were a number of other things too, like I was in a relationship, and a bunch of different things that kind of led to me writing this story, but I know we'll kind of get further into it.
Yes. Okay, so what should high school students expect when they go off to college?
Man, they need to be ready. They need to be ready for all of it. One thing that they will expect is that when you're in high school, you have the guidance of your parents. You're still even a dependent when you get to college. But when you're in college, you have the autonomy to be yourself. So no one's telling you, be in at 10 p.m. or whenever your timeline is and you need to be in. No one is telling you hey, wake up and wash your clothes and things like that. So really, they need to be very responsible and also accountable. And what I saw when I was in school is that was lost. Like, there was no accountability. Everyone just wanted to live their life and kind of do their own thing. So really, they should be ready to take on different social influences, different organizations that want them to be a part of it. Because in college, everything is screaming at you saying, hey, join me, be a part of this, and you have to make a decision. What direction do you want to go in life? And that can be hard when you don't have your own foundation, when you don't have your parents there telling you, hey, this is the way that you should go. You can call them, but they're not going to be there telling you this is the direction you should go. So they should be prepared really to be very responsible, accountable, and prepare for the unexpected.
Yeah. So being in college, does it force you to be an adult? It forces you to grow up?
Definitely forces you to grow up. Oh my goodness. And if you don't have a lot of those things that you need to know, like if you don't have really a solid head on your shoulders, or just a good head on your shoulders before you get there, it's gonna be a whirlwind for you when you get there. It's gonna be hard for you to find your place, to manage your time. If you don't manage your time well, college may not be for you. It just may not. So it's definitely a difficult place to find your way, but not impossible at the same time.
Okay, awesome. So in your book, you made a statement: each group, like a vacuum, will suck you into their social, economic, mental, or spiritual world. The only question is, which world will you get sucked into? Elaborate on that, please.
Yeah, so in college, there are many different organizations, there are many different people groups, cultures, things along those lines that we all kind of gravitate toward. And not that all of these groups are bad, but the thing is that where will you find yourself and find your people group in so that you can grow and mature into the person that you need to be. And many times we go for what's cool or what's the most popular, so we want to maybe pledge in a fraternity or sorority for some folks, or we want to be a part of SGA because we want to help throw different parties. And none of those things are bad or anything like that. I think sometimes when people think of them, it's like, oh, well, them fraternities, sororities, those are the devil and stuff like that. None of those things are like bad, but it's essentially they will take up your time. And for me, being the organization that was taking up my time and really pulling me away from the purpose that God had for me was the Marching 100. Being in the band. And it was weird because it was also my gift, but it was where I had left Colorado to go to college. This is what I was doing it for. I had a scholarship and everything, but it was taking up so much of my time, and God was revealing to me that He had a greater purpose for me than what I thought it was. And for me, I thought that organization was being in the band. So getting sucked into these places, a vacuum sucking you into these organizations, you have to decide where you want to be and what identity is going to be formed out of that, because we form our identity in many, many different ways, either through the people that we hang out with, our upbringing, and many other factors that influence that. But at the end, we have to decide, what direction we're going to take, no matter what we decide to join.
Okay, that's awesome. Awesome. Okay, so in your book, you also have a chart. The labels are pushers and puller. Could you explain that?
Yeah, so that's kind of it's a layout to show different things that people gravitate toward and different things that push people away. So it's kind of funny as well too, because there's a part in it where I have pushers on one side and pullers on the other side, and at the bottom there's actually two words that are the same, and one pusher for some people is parties. Some people hate parties, but another puller is parties.
Yes,
so
yes.
some people gravitate toward that, and some people just don't like it at all. So really, I give these as an example to show that there are many different things in college that are going to push you away, and there are many things in college that are going to make you want to go toward them. And again, it kind of comes back to the whole vacuum analogy of you have to decide what you're going to go into, and through you deciding that, how is that going to influence you or affect you in the long run? So who's thinking about the long run? Yeah, people aren't really thinking about the long run. Most of the time. Most of the time it's like, hey, this is short term, like this is my instant gratification that I just got to get this out of the way, I got to get this done. But in the end, we all have an eternity. We all have an eternity that we have to think about, and we all have a soul that has to be cared for. And it's like, man, how is our soul doing in the midst of all these things that may be pushing or pulling us? And that's what finding Christ in college, really the essence of it is that, man, as a college student, no one's thinking about eternity. Everyone's thinking about, how can I get this now? How can I get this 4-year degree quickly? How can I create the best social group, the best peer group that I can get myself involved in so that I can raise my status, so that I can have the best reputation? But no one's thinking about, man, what's eternity going to be like, or what does eternity even mean to me as a college student? Like, I'm just here trying to get this degree, pretty much. I'm just here trying to make my name big, and everything else outside of the most important thing, which should be Christ. So
let me ask you, because I remember when I used to go to school in Tallahassee, there was times I was having trouble balancing the fun and academics. Like, what can you say to the college students out there that have an issue with balancing, the fun life and then, their academics as well?
Yeah, time management is a hard thing, and I don't think we ever fully get it down. But I do think that we should make time to have fun. We should make time to enjoy our peers and hang out and go get some dinner, go sit down, go listen to some music, go to a park, go see a movie. I would say that assignment that you think is extremely important and has to be like done right then, if you're ahead on it, doesn't always have to. Sometimes you have to learn to step away. And that would be my encouragement to any students who are struggling with balance, to learn how to step away, learn how to just take time for yourself, to care for yourself, because you will get consumed, you will get overwhelmed by the amount of work, tests, quizzes, assignments, everything that you have to study for. Those things are consuming to a point where people have mental breakdowns.
Yes.
And I saw a lot of my friends have like mental breakdowns over, oh, I gotta study for this, I gotta do this. People would lock themselves in their rooms, like, I'm not coming out until, and I'm like, man, you gotta learn how to like take care of yourself. Like, you can't be in any condition to do well on that test or assignment or even pay attention in class if you're not caring for yourself. So I would encourage like really just self-care and learning how to just make time for yourself.
That's true.
That's not school.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so how was your college experience before you got saved?
Man, so funny enough, like I had gotten saved actually way back in like elementary school, middle school. We went to like this Bible camp and it was genuine. I was young, but it was authentic. I understood that, man, Jesus died for my sins, and so that I could live a life not the same, you know, but I could live a life that was transformed by the gospel. Essentially just him coming, living a life that I never could have lived, and understanding that. I understood that as a child. Now, did that play out in the way that I lived my life when I got to college? No, not instantly. It really was me trying to fit in, you know, so I was trying so hard to like make a name for myself in the Marching 100. The Marching 100 is just the best of the best, really the creme de la creme of like all musicians that you come and put together in one melting pot. And you're like, all right, y'all go to work. Like that's what the Marching 100 is. So it's nothing but an environment of excellence. And I, coming from a different marching background, you know, being in Colorado, was not used to that and almost really wasn't ready for it. So there was a lot of adjusting that I had to do to put myself in a place to really understand that environment. But like when it was not being at practice or anything like that, I was like, man, like I'm trying to go out, I'm trying to hit these clubs and whatnot. You know, I was still dating at the time, but at the same time, although I was dating, it was long distance, because when you leave high school, it's like you're not too much worried about that. So I was like dating, but I was like in the flirtatious kind of feel. I was like, you know, let me go see who I can try to talk to, trying to talk to girls. Like, it was just, I was all over the creation. So it really wasn't until I went to a club one night and they had a phone party. That was ridiculous, but they had a phone party, and man, like I was standing in the club and literally just kind of looking around, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, there has to be more to life than just this, you know? So after kind of looking around and kind of just looking just to see like, man, this is just, I feel like I'm wasting my time. I feel like I could be doing something so much better with my time. I really felt like God was just pulling me even more, you know? So, man, I was lost, you know? Although I believed in Jesus, I was lost, and I needed Jesus just as much as the person next to me, or just as much as the person who says that they were saved and really didn't care a lick about, you know, God's influence in their life. I needed him dearly, because I was insecure. You know, I was struggling with my own identity. I had issues with addictions and a bunch of other things, you know, that God had to release me from through time being in college. So I was lost, if I could sum it up. You know, and everyone maybe has their own version of that. You know, people may look and say, "Oh, that's not that bad. He's in the club. He wasn't doing things. He wasn't killing nobody." But you know, it is. You know, when we don't have God's influence and His leading in our life, we are lost. Essentially, and we need His direction.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Okay, so next question: how was your marching band experience?
Whoo!
Yes,
hard.
Get the good and the bad.
It was so hard. Like I was saying, I was not really prepared for that environment like I thought I was. Coming from the marching band background, they have what's called corps style. So corps style would be very militant. So they look very straight, almost like this when they're marching. And when you get to you know, this side of the world, it's the South, so it's very Southern, it's very high knees. Everybody's doing like getting on their knees and dropping it low and whatnot. And you know, I could dance, which helped a lot, you know, but it was extremely difficult. I distinctly remember being out on the field, and we'd be out there for sometimes, you know, 6 to 8 hours. With maybe 2 water breaks. And I mean, the water break was not a water break that you were like looking forward to. It was just like the line was so long, and gnats. I mean, sometimes you felt like you couldn't even see there were so many gnats because you were sweating so much, you know, so you felt like you had just gotten like a Billy Blanks workout. And then after your Billy Blanks workout, you had to, you know, you finally got a break. And when you get this break, this is just a line of people that you're just waiting to get some water from this like broke down fountain that, you know, it was just ridiculous. So you do that. And then you could never put down really your instrument. So when you went to go eat, you had to carry your instrument all the way to the cafeteria. The cafeteria was on the entire opposite side of of the campus. So you're coming from the patch, is what we called it. You're coming from that area and having to go all the way there to eat, and you're waiting again. You're just tired and you're done. And for people watching this who are in the Marching 100, they might be like, well, yeah, that's just what it is about. You know, that's just the environment, and you got to do it to be a part of it. You know, it's just nothing easy about it. But again, like, my story is different, you know, as far as my experience with it. And, you know, a lot of people might say like, oh, you might be bashing the Marching 100 in this and your experience with it, but I'm not at all bashing it. I'm just bringing it to light as far as what I experienced. So there was a lot of other things that I experienced too. You know, I experienced hazing within the Marching 100. And that was, you know, something, again, like, that I was not really prepared for mentally, to go through that sort of stress after going through a really intense practice. So I wasn't about people telling me what I needed to do and calling me out of my name and, you know, forcing me to do these dumb things that was just, again, I felt like I was wasting my time, and I felt like there was something different for me. So it was extremely difficult. It was one of the most difficult processes that I've ever experienced in my life, but I'm grateful for it, and what I experienced in it, the people that I met in it, you know, that I still am able to kind of talk to and meet with today. It was hard though. There was nothing about it that was easy, and I wanted to quit every day. I did. I just wanted to quit. It was just so difficult. So.
Wow, I can imagine. Yeah, it seems difficult. Yes. Okay, so what initially caused you to become saved? Like, what was the light bulb?
And I'll say, like, coming back to my college experience, the light bulb for me was, I thought I knew myself, and I didn't really know myself as much as I did, or much as I needed to. There was something missing. There was always something missing for me. I grew up where, you know, it was a split home where my mom and dad had split when I was young. And, you know, there was a period of time where I felt like I had to be the dad of the family. And there were many other things. So bringing all of this to college, I thought, like, man, I was this type of person. Like, I'm gonna be an engineer, and I'm going to be a whole bunch of other things that, you know, I was really influenced by. But really what caused me to become saved is just the reality of I had a need to be loved. I had a need to feel secure. And knowing that people can give you that was great, but I knew that what a person could give me would only last for so long. It was only temporary. And reading through God's word and really understanding, like, his heart for people, that he's so relational, that he wants to see us become our best, not just for ourselves, but so that he can be glorified in everything that we do. You know, and me coming to an understanding of that through reading his word and through seeking him really propelled me, you know. So the Bible tells us, you know, that a man must be drawn. The Spirit has to draw a man to be saved. So God's Spirit was drawing me, you know, to understand who he was. And I was a little bit reluctant at first, because being saved was not the cool thing. It was not the thing to do while you're in college. Like, who's thinking about that again, you know? But I'm so thankful that I had friends that came alongside me as well too, and that guided me and kept inviting me to Bible study. Although I was like, I don't know if I really want to check this out, but I continued to go and continued to read, and that led me to a point where I had rededicated my life to Christ. So I ended up getting baptized through that semester, and then really getting connected to a lot of different individuals who helped me to grow in my relationship with Christ. Because it's one thing to be saved, but it's another thing to mature in your faith.
Yes.
And I was always saved my entire life. Anybody can be saved. Like, man, just, I love you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Forgive me of my sins.
Yeah.
Great, but what's next? You know, so there never was really a what's next type of question for me. What happens after that, after you're saved, you know?
Yes.
Do you live your life in such a way where people can see Jesus in you, or are you just saved? You know, are you just another bystander? Are you just another person that is just like, well, yeah, I believe in Jesus, but nobody knows it? You know, so there's an aspect of shame and secrecy that comes along with being saved, that we feel that I did not want to feel or live that way. So I had set my mind to be like, man, God, like, I want to let people know who you are, no matter what they think of me. I don't care, you know, whether, you know, they think I'm weird, or they think I'm lame, or they think, you know, he's a hypocrite, or whatever it is. Like, I want to let Jesus's name be known, you know, not only on the campus, but in the entire world, because that was the thing that mattered to me most when I got saved. So I really understood God in a way that I never had before. So yeah, the Spirit drew me, and ultimately through the Spirit drawing me, I had friends who came alongside, great people in my life who helped me to understand my identity in Christ, and through that, I'm still growing. But I'm thankful for the influences.
Okay, that's good. I like that you said you had friends that came along that, you know, that helped you. So a lot of times, you know, when we become saved, sometimes we have to let go of the other friends that we know that influenced us to do negative things. And then, but for those who you know, who are baby in Christ and still learning and growing, like, how do they find Christian friends, or how do they surround themselves around positive people that would help them through their growth?
Yeah, I would say there are sometimes organizations, there are sometimes even groups that you can become a part of. So for me, we had a campus ministry on the campus. So it's one thing to be like, yeah, this is cool, and you want to do it by yourself. But when you have other people who are really trying to do the same thing, it makes it easier, because you know that you're not the only one believing in what you believe in. Like, you don't feel like a crazy person. You're like, man, am I the only one? This is like I Am Legend out here on on the college campus, you know. But I had friends who influenced me and were right there alongside me. So I would encourage anyone who is looking to just even explore that, whether it be exploring the Bible, whether it be exploring Christianity, or just wanting to grow in their relationship with Christ, join a group. You know, I was in what's called a life group on campus, and we would meet every Tuesday or sometimes Wednesday, and we'd meet. It was just me and a bunch of other guys, and sometimes it could be anywhere from 5 to sometimes 15. And we'd meet every Tuesday and go through some aspect that is important in life, and we would relate it to what the scripture says. So if it was like the topic was relationships, we could be in there for hours sometimes. And we'd be talking about like just our different relationships, our background, how we learned relationship, what our vision of like, or what our just picture of marriage is, you know, and then we would relate a biblical principle to it in scripture. We'd bring that in, and then just have everyone talk about like their experiences, and we'd be in there boohoo crying. We'd be in there like picking each other up, and just encouraging each other, and just being real with each other. I think we learned to really just be vulnerable and real about our experiences, and that grew us closer, not only as brothers, but in our faith. You know, so join an organization, find a local church that you could be a part of, that, you know, a lot of people say, oh, well, the Bible doesn't tell me I have to go to church and this and that. Doesn't say it specifically, but it says that, you know, we should not neglect the fellowship, you know, of the believers, and not neglect that aspect of our lives, because we need that. So I would say join maybe a campus ministry if you're on a college campus. If you're in high school, try to maybe join other groups. There's plenty of groups out there to be a part of. And if not, join a local church and just ask God to lead you to the right place, because you may be in a church like, I don't know if this church is for me. If it's teaching the word, and if it's a place where you feel like you can grow, definitely something to pray on. But those are some outlets as well. And if you have friends too, I would say, if you have friends who are doing it and you're thinking about like really following Christ, or just want to mature in your faith, tag along with your friends. Say, hey, when do you go to this Bible study, or when do you go to church? I want to join.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So in your book, you made a statement: God revealed to me how much I was suffering within the band. Not just the external strife, but the internal suffering that was going on in my soul. Could you explain that?
Yeah, so just kind of going back to this whole idea of purpose, this whole idea of we're so motivated by the things that we know we're good at. So if we've been given a gift, or you have an ability to do something, that pushes us, and sometimes pushes us through life. We go through our entire lives by this one gift or this ability that we've been given, and people push us too. They're like, yeah, this is what you should do. This is what you're supposed to do. And you're like, yeah, I believe that, I'm going to do this. But for me, there was this internal war going on, and the internal war, this internal strife, was the reality of was so convinced that this was what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to join the band. I was supposed to get my degree in this and that. All these supposed twos, we kind of live our life in this trajectory of, this is what I was supposed to do, as opposed to, this is what God wants me to do. So being in the band, God was revealing what he wanted me to do, and he was stripping me away from all the things that I knew. And the funny thing about it was that God wasn't removing playing the drums away from me. He brought that back. I play for our church today, I still do, and I teach even as well too, but he was wanting to remove me from a specific environment so that he could do the work that he needed to do in my life, so that I could be sent back out into those specific environments and be equipped essentially to reach those who are thinking the same thing. Because we're all, at the end of the day, thinking something when it comes to our identity. Our identity is wrapped up in the gifts that we've been given sometimes, or the abilities that we have, or our prowess as far as how intelligent we might be or athletic we might be. We're all kind of given these sort of gifts in some form or fashion, but on the inside, we have to ask ourselves, what really satisfies us? Are we being just completely satisfied by this gift that we've been given, or is there something further than that? So God was really showing me, in the midst of what I was experiencing in the Marching 100, that, man, there's more for you. I felt like I was standing in sinking sand, and I felt like I couldn't move. And I felt like the longer that I stood there, the faster I would sink into the sand, which was the sand would be just really my gifts and the things that I wanted to do so much, and this environment that I was in was destroying me. And I didn't want to accept that, and sometimes we become in denial because we're so convinced that this is something that we want to do, to a point where we shut out everything else and nothing else matters. And thank God that he still had a hold on my life, that I didn't shut out his voice when he was speaking to me, because unfortunately, being in that environment, there was so much happening. I talked about hazing earlier, and just to give light to it, there was a young man, Robert Champion, who was in the band, and he was a drum major, and I knew him. I would talk to him every so often when we would go to the cafeteria, and he's a great guy, had a really good spirit. But I know just him being in the place that he was in the Marching 100 had a lot of opportunities to kind of excel within that environment, and excelling could mean joining another organization within it, and unfortunately he was going through that process and passed. And I say to this day, I'm so thankful that God pulled me out, because the same people that were my my section leaders within the March of 100 were unfortunately some of the same people that were being essentially prosecuted when Robert Champion was murdered. So had I not left that environment, I could have become that same product. That's and true. You know, could have saw my face in the news for murdering someone, and that was a hard thing to see. But I was so thankful that God pulled me out at the time that He did.
At the right time.
Exactly at the right time, just to be able to not only, you know, keep me from that. And I think I'm pretty level-headed, but at the same time, like when you're going in that culture and you want to like go further, the temptation to like be a part of something even greater becomes more.
Exactly.
So he pulled me out and really helped me with the internal strife and helped me to see that my identity was never within the abilities and skills and gifts that He had given me, but it was within Him. You know, and understanding, man, like my identity within Him was so much greater, and finding it within Him, it's not that He wanted to remove all those things. He's like, you know what, I want to enhance those things and bring them back so that what you do glorifies me, so that people don't just see you, but they see me in everything that you do.
Yes, yes, that's awesome. Well said. A part of this show is also to help young authors out there, people that want to write a book. This part of the show is to kind of guide them through the process. So when you're writing your book, like what tips could you give to the young authors or people that are trying to write their books? What tips could you give them so that they can start their process?
You need accountability.
Okay.
You need accountability. You need someone who's going to remind you to write your book, to write it, no matter what it sounds like. Don't go back and erase stuff. Don't go back and edit things. Just write it and get it done. You need accountability in your life. People who are just going to remind you, say, "Hey, did you write in your book today?" So get a good friend, you know, a friend who you trust, or someone who mentors you, you know, and just can kind of help guide you. Write what you want to write about. You know, sometimes people are afraid to put their story out there because they think it's going to sound like everyone else's. So they're like, I don't want to write this because someone's already written about it. You know, write what God has put in your heart and tell your story, and be authentic in it. You know, get some accountability. I would say create a schedule. For me, I had to put reminders in my phone Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it was all capitals, write in your book. Exclamation points, like all in that. So when I would see it, I'm just like, dang, I got to write in my book. And I wouldn't feel like writing in it, you know, some days, but I had to somehow find a way. So I had other people in my life too, you know, my wife, a good friend of mine, just other friends who would always encourage me. They're like, how's your book coming along? And it would force me to be truthful with them. I'm like, it's not coming along, you know, I haven't written in it in like 3 weeks. Like I need to get back on it, you know, but it was good to have that accountability. I would also say, find methods that's easiest for you to write your book. So, it wasn't until I bought a journal that I was able to like really start feeling the flow of writing the book. And I started it on my laptop initially, that unfortunately got stolen. So I had to like restart the entire process. Wow. Didn't know how I was going to restart it, but I started writing. And as I started writing, I started feeling like, man, this is easier than like typing. The only difference was that, man, when I wrote it, I had to go back and type it. So that was hard. But if you need to record it, you know, if you need to like just have something transcribed while you're talking, you can do it that way too, as long as you're actively working toward it. And I would say, this sounds really like cliche, but never give up.
Yes.
You know? Like, never give up on the dream, never give up on the vision that you've been given for your book. Because you don't know the people who are going to be reached by, you know, the words and the experiences that you've had. So believe in it. You know, I believe in this book, you know, 100,000%, you know, that is going to change lives and it's going to encourage people. And even if it's not a New York Times bestseller or whatever it's supposed to be, you know, I don't care about all of that. If I can reach one person and one person's life can be changed by my experiences and what God has done, then I've done my job. You know, I'm excited about what God has done in my life through the words that I've been able to put out. So those three things: accountability, create a schedule, and never give up.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. Now, if someone wanted to purchase your book, how would they be able to do that?
So it's available through a couple different mediums, but Amazon and Barnes & Noble online. They can purchase either an ebook copy, a soft copy, and a hardback copy as well too. Any medium that they enjoy. And it's through I put it on my Facebook a lot as well. Aaron Joseph Tillman, or I don't know if my Facebook name might still be like Aaron No Reserves Tillman. You'll find me. It's on there, and then Instagram as well too. I have a couple of different links that I put up on there if people want to get the purchase link, but it is available online through those sources and through my publisher Author House as well. Okay. So Author House, Amazon, and Barnes & Noble.
Okay, awesome. Aaron, I just want to thank you for taking this opportunity to do the interview with me. And I also want to thank my viewers for actually watching this episode. I'm excited on what God is doing. And I know that book that you have is going to bless many, many college students out there. The book is not just for college students. It's for anybody that's also pursuing to go to college as well. So get his book. It's called Finding Christ in College by Aaron Tillman. All right, enjoy your night. Bye. That's it.